death, the journey we all eventually take.
I think when your number's up, your number's up.
How we'll carry our loved ones on their final journey. How we'll honour them in death. How we'll grieve. The rites and rituals performed today in Australia. In this series, we go behind the scenes of Hindu, Catholic, Muslim, to get a picture of death as it's done in 21st century Australia. This week on Faith and Funerals, a motorcycle send-off for a Vietnam vet.
He'd be in the pub in heaven.
Everyone will pick the coffin up, jam it on their shoulders. We'll carry it in.
200 kilometres north of Sydney, the Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club is about to honour one of its own.
So, have you worked out where you're going to stop? I'll stop until you go in front. I'll stop down the road.
A funeral cortege of more than 100 bikes has assembled to send off their mate. Former SAS soldier Anthony Blackie Reid.
Blackie was travelling directly behind me, and we went around a real swooping corner, and the road came in a little bit, and apparently Blackie must have just got on the edge of the old road, and he couldn't bring it back up, and I just looked in my mirror and all of a sudden he wasn't there, and I turned around and pulled up.
Blackie was found unconscious in a ditch.
Cookie got onto the paramedics.
I put my phone on loudspeaker, and the lady on 000 was telling us what to do. I said, can we get a chopper? Can we get someone there? This man's done 2 tours of Vietnam with the SAS. We don't want him to die on the side of the road. And she said, I'll do my best. And we did what she said.
We tried our hardest, and just to no avail.
Blackie died from head injuries. The club secretary, he'd been a motorcycle club member for 16 years, joining after almost 4 decades in the army. North of Sydney, Vietnam veteran Anthony Blackie Reid is on his way to his funeral service in a special motorcycle sidecar hearse.
This particular funeral is quite unique in that Anthony, the deceased, was a guest at a funeral that I did about 3 weeks ago, and he made the comment to his mates that when he saw the motorcycle hearse, that's the way he wants to go. Little did he know that a tragedy would strike, and he was killed in a motorcycle accident, so his mates fulfilled his wish, and, you know, I'm only too happy to be here to help him out with that.
Steve started his motorcycle business 8 years ago. Since then, he's ridden escort on 150 funerals.
In my experience, the people who have decided to use my motorcycle hearse are usually people who want to make a statement about the way they've lived their life. They don't want to go out in the back of a wagon, a cage as they call it. They would prefer to take their final journey in the same way that they lived their life. So the family decided for us to deliver his body to the funeral on the side of the motorcycle hearse with an honour guard of his Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club.
Blackie spent 38 years in the army. He virtually come straight out of the army into our chapter.
On his passing, we went and seen his family, and his family more or less thanked us for giving him another 16 years of life, because being in the army that long, they didn't know what he was going to do. But anyway, he fitted in well with us, and he was a very good bloke.
Motorcyclists have come from all over Australia to honour Blackie by riding in his funeral cortege.
I think the cortege is a really important part of a funeral because it's where the community gets to get involved in the funeral. They may not be at the ceremony, or they may not be at the burial or the cremation, but they bid farewell along the way.
You know, what we did for his funeral, and with all our club members and visitors that ride with us and party with us, they all turned up on their bikes. The wonderful procession we had for him. The hearse on the sidecar.
It's 14 kilometres to the church. Along the way, a few mates stop to take a private moment with Blackie on his last ride.
The last ride with Blackie, that was, but really the last ride was just before he came off. We thought a lot of people would go before Blackie, but anyway, but he went before us.
The Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club has finished their formal escort duties for Sergeant Major Blackie Reid.
Blackie's funeral was for his family, I think. They organised the funeral. We just sort of fitted in what they wanted. We didn't say how Blackie wanted it, or we had no right to say that. But we just conformed to what they wanted.
What they wanted, yeah.
Peace of the Lord be always with you.
The funeral for Blackie is underway, and they're doing a traditional Catholic service on the in the chapel at the moment.
There's no words I can use today that could ever come close to reflecting the awesome life that Blackie Reid's had.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
That was a very standout funeral because the family decided to infuse both parts of his life. So we went in with all leather jackets and roaring motorcycles and came out to some ornate uniforms and military brass.
Nobody expects a funeral to be good, but when they come along and they experience things that relate to the deceased's life, like in this case motorcycles, people feel that the deceased is with them, that part of them is there. Traditional funeral is just somebody in a coffin, and that's not the way they live their life.